There we go. Hi, all. Thanks for joining. Little technical difficulties there. Happy to have you all here. Vince, I can see your handsome face. Can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me? Awesome. Great. And can you see my screen?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Truckee Fire
Awesome.
Protection District.
That's us. I'm hoping we get a couple more participants, but I would love to go around and do some quick introductions before we get started. I'm Maria Marsh, Wildfire Prevention Specialist with Truckee Fire. And Vince, since I can see you, I'll tap you to go next.
Hello, Vince Warzinski, Truckee Airport Operations, trying to set up a Firewise community called Airport.
Awesome. Who's next? Julia, I can see you. She's working on it. There we go.
Is it working? All right. Last time I could never get it to work. So I'm Julia Lawrence, one of the team leaders in Prosser, Lakeview, and Woods Firewise Community.
Thank you for joining. Jim, if you're able to unmute yourself and say hello and which community you're representing.
It looks like he's frozen.
He might have
Jim.
frozen.
Yeah, and he's a part of our Firewise team too. In
Awesome.
Prosser, Lakeview.
Okay.
He's one of the leaders in our team. Okay.
Thanks, Julia. Michelle, if you're able to unmute yourself and introduce yourself.
I'll speak for her when she comes on. She's part of our community too. Prosser Firewise. All right. Bye.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Oh, there she
is.
Good.
Now we can.
Okay, cool. Hi. And I'm with the Prosser group as well.
I wonder if having all of you guys connected to video from Prosser is messing with your internet connection right now.
I don't know.
The nature of Wi-Fi in Truckee. Thanks so much for being here, Michelle. Tom, if you can hear me and want to unmute yourself and say hello.
Hello. Anyway, I am also a Prosser person, trying to help Julia out because she's been taking the burdens. So we're all trying to learn a little bit more. So thank you.
Awesome. I love the engagement from Prosser. Thank you guys so much for being here. And hopefully a couple of our other users are able to pop back in. But I'm going to go ahead and get started with our meeting on our screen here. So quick introduction. Welcome. This is our monthly Truckee Fire Protection District Firewise virtual office hours. My name is Maria Marsh. I'm the Wildfire Prevention Specialist with Truckee. Truckee Fire serves as the regional coordinator for Firewise. Just as a reminder, we didn't create or design the program. We don't administer the program, but we serve as support basically for our Firewise communities in their application and administration of the program. And the programs run by Truckee Fire, which are all funded by the Measure T tax measure, support and work in collaboration with the work that you guys are doing in your communities. I always like to highlight event in the community from one of our partners, and coming up in a couple of weeks on the first Tuesday of every month, ERFWC, the Eastern Regional Firewise Coalition, is having their monthly meeting, and I strongly encourage participation from one or more community member from each Firewise community. It's a great way to stay up to date on what is going on with Truckee Fire and also connect with your fellow resident leaders. I also want to bring to everybody's attention a newly introduced topic for next month. We're going to be talking about inspection data and the features that our software provider has been working on to enable us to give you guys basically a reporting platform to see the data that we are collecting as it is, specifically related to your community. I'm getting a thumbs up from Julia. I know that as a former teacher, she likes to be results driven. And we have a couple of other community members that have asked for the same thing. So it makes sense, right? And we really need your guys' input in order to determine that we are able to give you what you're looking for and produce it in a way that is quick and sort of replicable for us, because we have 32 Firewise communities at present and we're growing. So there's a lot of demand and we want to be able to give you guys what we're looking for. This time though, today we're going to talk about action plans. And just a reminder that you can access recorded sessions of our virtual webinars and register for future sessions to get them on your calendars and get reminders about them at truckeefire.org/Firewise. So jumping right into action plans, we have mostly representation from Prosser, who is a existing community, and Airport Vince is here as a developing community. So I'll talk about it from both perspectives, but really a lot of it is the same information of what the action plan is and what development of it looks like. So every year, as part of your renewal application, you are compiling and reporting on your risk reduction investment. That's the number of hours that every community member has invested in, be it green waste removal, home hardening, education outreach, that sort of thing, as well as their vegetation removal. You're conducting an outreach event, and depending on the year, you have documents to submit. If it's your first year that you're applying, you're submitting both of these documents, the action plan and the risk assessment. And if you're renewing, then those documents come up on different cycles for renewal. I don't know why. It doesn't entirely make sense to me, but I'm sure there was a reason somewhere along the line, and we work with what we've got. So today we're going to talk about the action plan in particular. Last month, we talked about risk assessments, and the month before, we talked sort of generally about all of the above, including the compiling and reporting and educational outreach event. So again, I would encourage you to watch those recordings if you have questions about those aspects. The important thing to know about the action plan is that it's a forward-looking document. You are setting goals for the next 3 years. So the time that you are updating the document overlaps with the existing plan. So when you are submitting in 2025, the period that you're creating the document for is 2026 through 2028. And that means that in the year 2028, you're both going to be implementing the goals that you created for 2028 and designing and updating and submitting your action plan for the next 3 years. So best practice, I find, to sort of keep this straight in my mind is to include in year 3 of your action plan a goal to update and submit your renewed action plan. So I hope that makes sense. It gets confusing, especially because the portal is not always accurate. And I'll give you an example of this, where this says last updated is the last time that you uploaded a document to the action plan field. So if this year I accidentally uploaded the receipt for my car's oil change, it will say that I updated my document this year, even though that's not I didn't actually update my action plan this year. So the important thing to do is to actually go into your document management within the portal and open the actual document and see when you last submitted it. So I'll show you guys what I'm talking about when we get in there. Additionally, and alternatively, you can read my emails because I tell you and I keep track, and I've gone into every single portal and checked the dates of when your last action plan was completed for, what range of time it was completed, and whether you're due this year. So we have a bunch of communities due for an action plan update this year. And some of them might not realize that they're due. Some of them might like squeak through with an old action plan because, for example, I'll show you guys in the portal, Sierra Meadows' last action plan was actually completed with looking at years 2022 through 2024. However, for some reason, their portal says they're not due till 2026. CAL FIRE and NFPA overlooked that last year, so they squeezed through without having to submit something. But I would still like to get them, dialed in so that we don't get caught off guard with a requirement. So what do we do about the action plan? First step, come to our office hours. You all are here, so pat yourselves on the back. I would also just like to give 3 cheers to Bonnie, who arrived, and I hope that she can hear us. Bonnie has had a saga of struggling to connect to our office hours. So Bonnie, give us a little indication if you can hear us, type something in the chat, but I'm glad to have you here joining us. For updating your action plan, the first thing that you probably want to do is review your existing action plan. Where have you gotten off track? What hasn't been accomplished? Where would you like to refocus? The other really important thing to do is to review your existing risk assessment. What wasn't captured or addressed on the existing action plan? Because the renewal period for the action plan and the risk assessment don't perfectly align, it might have been a year or two since you completed the updated risk assessment with Truckee Fire. So you might need a little refresher on what the recommendations are, but we're gonna look into that. I also strongly recommend that all of you sign up for ERFWC's mailing list. They are working with one of our newer sort of supporting organizations, Fire Safe Nevada County Coalition, to host an in-person workshop focused on writing risk assessments and action plans. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to get that together for this year, but they're great 2 organizations that are working collaboratively to bring some additional support beyond what Truckee Fire is able to provide to our Firewise communities. So it's good to be tied in with there. And then lastly, the majority of our resources for all of this for you guys is going to be available at truckeefire.org/firewise/admin. And that is where we're going to go to look at all of this information. Let's see. So I'm going to switch my screen here. And Julia, can I get a thumbs up that you can see their Firewise webpage? It says Firewise Leader Hub at the top. Okay, great. I got a thumbs up. So this is where you guys are mostly going to be going for all of your resources. And in case you're not sure how I got here, wildfire prevention. So if we're just at the regular Truckee Fire page, wildfire prevention, Firewise. This is the main Firewise landing page. And you can always get to the Leader Hub by scrolling down and on the left-hand side, clicking here into the Leader Hub. You can also just go to truckeefire.org/firewise/admin. This is your landing page for hopefully almost all things, maybe more information than you wanted about Firewise participating in Truckee Fire's programs and all the documentation you might need. So what are we looking at for action plans? This How to Write an Action Plan document is an excellent guide that was prepared by that Fire Safe Nevada County Coalition. And I have Frankensteined it with notes. See if I can make this a little easier to see. With notes from recommendations, details, etc. For Truckee Fire specific information. I'm going to see if I can open this up in a different window so you guys can see this a little more easily. Okay. Truckee Fire guide to your action plan. The very first thing that you should do is take a look at the action plan. For those of you that have been looking at this in the past or have been checking it out recently, let's see, I got too many screens going on. Let's see if we can do this. And that. Hold please while my computer decides what it wants to do. Just going to cancel that. Okay. On the right-hand side of your screen, you have the most recent template for the action plan. They heard our feedback that people were having a really hard time with the Word document template. So they finally created an editable PDF template. So this should be a lot easier for folks to navigate. Hi, James. Thanks for joining.
Hey, sorry I'm late. Thank you.
No worries at all. We're just getting started. So right-hand side of your screen, the 2025 version of the action plan template. Left-hand side of your screen is the Frankensteined How to Write a Successful Action Plan guide, courtesy of Fire Safe Nevada County Coalition, with some addendums from us at Truckee Fire. So most important thing to start with is familiarize yourself with the action plan and what the point of it is and the instructions. They have tried very hard to detail and give a little more clarity on what they're looking for and what you should be entering in here. And they've gone so far as to ask you to click a box that said that you have read the instructions. So first step, read through everything. Second step, review your prior action plan, what you're leaving behind, and review your risk assessment. The sort of first important point of the action plan is that it needs to be addressing and incorporating the recommendations from your existing risk assessment. So as we indicate here, you want to read your risk assessment and in particular the recommendations pages. You guys will probably see within your risk assessments that there is there are two pages. One of the recommendations pages speaks specifically to the observations within the inspection, and that's the inspection data, the observations within the template. That's the inspection data. So how many of your structures have particular resilient home hardening features? How many have well-treated defensible space zones? And what to do, what are your priorities and what to do about any of those particular findings. The other information is sort of addressing the other elements of the risk assessment and action plan. So talking about community engagement and outreach, evacuation preparedness, and that sort of thing. Additionally, I'm giving you guys really detailed information, but I don't think that this is necessary anymore. It's pretty easy to start typing in here Prosser, what are we? Lakeview and Woods. It's not a big deal. You don't need to include Firewise Community in the name here. But either way, and then you'll check from the drop-down box the range of years that you're applying for. Anybody that is live with me now will be doing it for 2026 through 2028. That means the year that we're currently in is year 0. So either you're updating because your existing action plan is expiring this year, or you're a new community, the current year is year 0, and your year 1 of your action plan is next year, 2026. When you update and edit the community name and your years here, it should carry into the same fields on the subsequent pages. So you can double check that. It didn't used to do that. So in some directions that you're reading, you might see that it tells you to enter it on every page or something along those lines. The date completed is a new field. It looks like they have an easy sort of drop-down calendar like you see on any website. As far as I can guess, the actual date of completion to the day or month is not particularly important. I would think that the year is the most important thing. And that makes sense if you are, for example, updating your existing action plan, for example. I'm not really sure. I think we're probably going to get some new intel after this year of submissions as to what people have done right or wrong with this field and what CAL FIRE was actually looking for. So to be continued on that. Our next box here is, as I said, acknowledging that you have read the directions and that you understand what they're looking for. That one should be pretty much no-brainer. Click the box. The next section is a brief description of the community. This can really be high level. You don't need to repeat information that is captured within your risk assessment. You don't need to get super detailed. It's basically just, let's say, giving the reviewer of the action plan an idea of just some framework, some reference. The particular thing that you don't want to include here is any specific count of your number of dwellings or your number of residents, because when that changes, they want us to update it everywhere. And it's easiest if the action plan does not need to be updated. So that's a pretty, straightforward section. There's an example in here. You do need to delete that text in order to put in what is yours. And please make sure that you do actually change it, because sometimes we get a submission where it is literally the same box, and that doesn't make them very confident that you have read and understood the directions. All right, action plan itself. The document is divided by year, and within each year, it's divided into the goal categories. So, for example, action plan year 1, you no longer have to type in the year here. I don't think. Yeah, it doesn't allow us to type in the year. So you will need to intuit that because you made your action plan for 2026 through 2028, that year 1 is 2026. For each year, we have education and outreach goals, home hardening goals. Scrolling down, then we have defensible space and fuel reduction goals, and evacuation planning and wildfire preparedness goals. Then it all starts over again for action plan year 2, and the same thing for action plan year 3. My suggestion is to draft, review, edit, workshop your goals in a separate document, whether that be a Google Doc, a Word doc, whatever works for your team. And then when you're done, put it in here. Some people like to do their planning by category, and then year 1, 2, and 3. And and that makes sense to them logically. When it is put into the template, you have to put it into the order that they have it. So however you want to do your planning, the template is what needs to be submitted as the final document. They have it, the numbers started here 1, 2, 3. They like to have 3 to 5 goals for each category per year. And let's see, let me scroll down. I'm getting ahead of myself, but these directions are pretty simple. So to give you guys some idea about what to put in your categories, what I would recommend is look at our example action plans. And you can find those, surprise, surprise. Let me see if I can move this bar. You can find our example categories on our Firewise Leader webpage. So apologies, our example action plans. We have 2 action plans on the Leader Hub that are from the 2024 application season. So they were approved, accepted last year. The template format is slightly different, but the language in the goals is in line with the direction that we've been given from CAL FIRE and NFPA. So if you click into these, it'll download the document for you. All right, a little more navigation between all the different things up on my screen. So you can see that the format is a little bit different, but the idea carries. We have a couple of great example community action plans here. Close that one out, and we'll go back into our action plan. A couple more resources for you guys for where to look for examples. We have pulled into this document a great resource that Placer County Firewise team created, which are basically by bucket, by category, examples. I think she's got 2 or 3 pages here, lists of examples that you could put as your goals. So these, you don't need to make these up out of thin air. Look at example communities, look at the list, and customize things from the sort of generalized examples that are in the action plan examples here to fit your community. So I think Jackie's done a great job here. Jackie from Placer County OES has done a great job of sort of bucketing these in a way that makes it a little easier to navigate, sort of look high level per bucket. And then you can decide amongst yourselves how you want to separate these out per year. You can do, for example, you can have every year that you want to host an annual outreach event. What CAL FIRE and NFPA want to see is that there's some progression of your goals. So for example, you might say in year 1, you want to just host the event. In year 2, you might say you want to have a certain number of agencies participate in your event. Or you might say you want to increase the participation by a certain percentage at your event. That's what they mean by showing some progression. They don't want it to be cookie cutter, copy and paste, that you're sort of checking the box and doing the same thing every year. They want to see that there's some sort of thought and intent put into the development of the action plan. And let's see, that pretty much sums up actually what we're looking at for directions in the general sense. A couple of notes and sort of tips is that you are not bound to the action plan that you create. If you create goals that after your first year you realize you were way under anticipating what your participation or your, implementation was going to be, you're fine. You can, continue and progress further than you had anticipated. If you, decide that when you completed your initial action plan, you were really shooting for the moon and you didn't get there, that's also okay. In theory, you can update your action plan at any point and resubmit it. To be honest, given some of the technical difficulties that I explained before with uploading documents to the portal, I wouldn't actually recommend that you upload a revision to the action plan every time you make one. At least for now, and the way that the portal currently functions and the way that the review is currently processed with CAL FIRE and NFPA, I would recommend that you use the action plan template as basically a broader sort of general guideline for what your community aims to do. And many of you are sort of detail oriented and maybe more detail oriented than the template provides for. And I would encourage you to use whatever method you have for tracking your progress internally within your community. Keep that as your more current, sort of up-to-date, growing, changing document, and let the action plan that has been submitted into the portal stand until your next action plan update. The disclaimer to that is that if at some point the boundaries change for your community, for example, if you expand your community by, including a small amount of, additional neighborhood homes, they will want to see an updated action plan. That update can include additional items that literally says, bring into the fold the new neighborhood that has been added, or create a certain amount of contacts within the new neighborhood. It doesn't need to be a huge change, but when we do have changes in the boundaries, they do want to see an action plan change. I had a question pop up from Jim, and Jim says, until we get to above 50% compliance, I'm seeing that our goals will be the same each year. Our basic goal will always be defensible space compliance. And I'm so glad you brought this up, Jim, because that comes to another one of the sort of, it could be called nitpicky, but sort of the finer points of CAL FIRE's requirements for the action plan. Firewise is not a regulatory program, right? Firewise is completely voluntary, and it is not a means through which anyone is checking compliance. That being said, CAL FIRE, who reviews the documents, is a regulatory agency. They don't want us to put anything in the action plan that suggests or acknowledges non-compliance with the defensible space law. So while our goals might be a certain level of compliance of defensible space, or improving compliance within Zone 0, for example, the language that we use on the action plan that gets submitted should use words like strengthen compliance, or maintain, improve compliance, or educate about combustible mulch, or educate about the importance of hardscaping instead of combustible mulch. So I get where you're coming from, that your sort of larger goal might actually be the same, but the sort of action items that we're writing in the action plan should speak to them in a different way. Does that make sense? And Jim, if you have additional questions or want to expand on your question, feel free to unmute, or if that's challenging. Oh, I saw you. Go ahead.
Sorry about the background noise, but I don't see if there's that much variety in the kinds of actions that we can promote as far as defensible space, 0 to 5 feet, you know, zone 1, blah, blah, blah. You know, we could spend the next 30 years getting everybody in Prosser just working on the 0 to 5 foot. And our biggest problem are absentee owners, raw land, and Truckee Fire is not pushing the ball along hard enough to get these people aware or acting on these needs that we have.
Yeah, so a lot of great points. And I see what you're saying, that the sort of total goal is defensible space compliance. We can break that down into a lot of smaller points. Let me see if I can pull up, for example, that example action plan that we were just looking up. And I'll show you some examples of what sort of goals people are putting for their defensible space goals. And Jim, I'm just going to mute you again while I'm talking so we don't get too much of your background noise there. Perfect, thank you. So for example, in defensible space goals on the action plan, again, all working towards the goal of defensible space compliance. Researching fuel reduction grants, right? Fuel reduction as part of this category is not just about defensible space, but fuel reduction within the community. You guys in Prosser, you don't have common areas, but that's, you know, fuel reduction from large neighboring landowners is a goal, and one of your goals for defensible space or fuel reduction might be that increasing outreach or enforcement, Truckee Fire's engagement with undeveloped land or absentee owners, educating about the importance of CAL FIRE's Zone 0 defensible space maintenance and improvements, recommending specific actions within Zone 0 requirements. And this is where that reporting dashboard will come in handy, is that once we've conducted inspections and have all of that data, we can say, okay, Prosser, one of the primary issues that we identified is pine needles on the roof. So you guys might then put into your next action plan that keeping roofs clear of pine needle accumulation is one of your goals. So it's not, and the way that we're phrasing it here, right, is recommend or maybe host a community work day where people are coming together with ladders and leaf blowers to help everybody clear their roofs. So again, it's being sort of specific about particular defensible space goals, and it can also be sort of larger scale than that, hosting a fuel reduction day, right? The goal is still about defensible space and fuel reduction, but it's not addressing the compliance of defensible space, but how you're going to both work towards, achieve, maintain, you know, engage on the defensible space compliance. Developing work parties to assist neighbors with clearing. That's another area where you might find that you can move the needle on defensible space compliance within the community by helping people that aren't able to do it for themselves for one reason or another. This is another one that I love, which is having all the members of the Firewise community have an in-person defensible space inspection with Truckee Fire. And you would actually be surprised how in many of our communities, our Firewise leaders have only had curbside inspections or haven't had a full walk around with Truckee Fire personnel. So this is another great example of how you can itemize your defensible space goals that are working towards that compliance without specifically stating it in here. Does that give some more ideas, Jim?
Yes.
In my experience, when you have goal setting, you have measurable results or measurable goals. And that's why I'm having trouble with your explanations. They seem very airy. I mean, there's no point of completion. There's no percentages of people contacted. There's no, I mean, I don't know. I just have a problem with the way this is being worded. That's all. I'd rather say I'd like to contact 50 people in our community to specifically get them motivated to get their 0 to 5 areas squared away.
I love that angle, and I think that you're on the right track of aiming for, measurable, achievable results. And I think that the way that you phrased it is great. It's just that we need to twist it to, the goal is to contact, like as you said, 50 landowners about doing their defensible space, or maybe it's assist 10 properties in their annual roof clearing, for example. So there's definitely ways to adjust how you're phrasing it so that it's, in a way that you guys are comfortable with. This is your document and you're creating it. What I'm showing you here is an example of what was accepted last year. So when we're talking about, measurable goals, I like to give you guys sort of a range of what is acceptable. And every community does it a little bit differently. Sorry, small office, and we got a lot going on all at once. Thanks for the pause, guys. Other questions out there about the action plan items, the way things are worded, or questions about that?
Hey, Maria,
Please jump in.
would we be able to, I've read over the action plan, and I know I think once we see the inspection report, and it was done really early in June, so a lot of people hadn't finished their defensible space, but I think that'll give us some hard evidence about what's happening throughout the neighborhood. Can we use items from the inspection report in here? Because I think it will give us more clearly defined information of where we are today. Whereas the risk assessment was 3 years ago. And when I read over our risk assessment, so much of it is very general, very broad.
Yeah, 100%. And it's, it's a combination of both things. Given that the cycle is off again of the risk assessment and the action plan, it's just part of the process that there's going to be some disconnect, that one document is looking forward while the other one is a, snapshot of the point in time. And sort of all to the same point, yes, you can be detailed and speak specifically to inspection items. Again, the language that we use needs to be careful about saying strengthen, maintain, or something along, ensuring that neighbors are doing their annual upkeep of the appropriate zone or that sort of thing. And like I said, the action plan template is the document that's submitted to CAL FIRE and NFPA for review. It needs to be worded in a certain way in order for it to be accepted based on the agencies that are reviewing it. The way that you guys are implementing it, or perhaps phrasing things a little differently within the community, can be different, and that can be tailored more to what you actually want to see in terms of actionable items. Does that make sense? I definitely understand that there's some sort of, fudginess in here and some gray area in terms of the way that we're phrasing things. But the important thing to remember is that As much as we interestingly have a lot of teachers and retired teachers amongst our resident leaders, as much as you guys want to have, feedback and check the boxes and demonstrate that we're making progress, the recognition on an annual basis from Firewise is not actually about your measurable progress. And whether that sort of goes against what the intention of it is, the way that you are actually implementing in your community, they're not actually checking and keeping score that you have improved by the percentage that you indicated that you're improving in terms of compliance. So there's a little disconnect in the way that they want it presented to them and the way that we're actually, implementing these changes within our communities and within the context of, for example, defensible space inspections, because as we all know, defensible space is actually required to be maintained at all times. However, by participating, just by nature of all of your participation within the Firewise program, you know that it's not being maintained. And part of that education and outreach is that we're trying to encourage that, action, that motivation, participation within our communities.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Other thoughts, questions here?
Just one thing, Jim was talking about the undeveloped lots. And what I've gotten in my neighborhood, I've gotten the feeling that somebody, and I don't know which agency it would be, has been going after some of these lot owners who's have not cleaned up their space. A place right across the street got cleaned up, and they said that there was outside intervention on that. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, Michelle, thank you for circling me back to that point. And I'll share a couple pieces of information. Prosser, who Jim, Julia, and Michelle are all from that community. Prosser was one of our first inspected communities in 2022 when I first started, when the wildfire prevention team at Truckee Fire was first established. And at that time, the software didn't have a way for us to automatically communicate with a property owner. The process that we had for inspections was leaving a door tag, which we still do today. And on a vacant lot, we didn't have capacity to leave a door tag. We had a very manual process of coming back to the office, identifying vacant lots that were inspected, manually creating a form, manually printing and mailing the inspection report. So there was a gap there in our ability to effectively and efficiently communicate with those property owners. The software developer has since implemented a way for us to both send automatic emails if the person has at any point associated an email address with their inspection report. It has also implemented an automatic postcard mailer, which some of you may have received if you didn't access your report within 2 weeks of your inspection being conducted. Then an automatic mailer goes to the property address, the registered address, with the mailing address for property taxes. So obviously someone who has vacant land isn't going to come home and find their door tag. So 2 weeks after they have had their property and their property has been inspected, even from that curbside inspection, they're going to receive this pretty postcard in the mail that has a nice picture of a fire engine in front of a lake. And they're going to turn it over and it's going to say, hey, your property was inspected for defensible space and turns out you have some work to do. So we're seeing a huge amount more engagement with our vacant landowners, and a lot of work is getting done. So Jim, I'm sorry to hear that you have particular concerns, and I'm happy to talk about those with you, offline. But we are seeing a huge amount more work on those vacant properties. And since it's come up as a talking point, that's something that maybe we can talk about how we might include that information in the reporting that we're returning to you guys for those communities that have a lot of undeveloped lots, to be able to show that after the 2022 inspections, there was, a certain amount of work done. And after the 2025 inspections, there was significantly more work done, or more of those lots were being brought into compliance. We'll have to look at what that looks like and whether we can actually tease apart that data. But anecdotally, I can definitely tell you that it's something we're getting a lot more engagement and moving the needle on. So thanks for bringing that up, Julia. Other questions, comments, thoughts about action plans or other things we're touching on?
Me again. Can we get that database of undeveloped land address of the owners of those properties from you? Do you provide that?
That's not something that we are able to provide directly, but registered mailing addresses is publicly available information. And I can actually show you, if you search for Nevada County, what do they call it? My Neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
This My Neighborhood Nevada County lets you, let's see if we can jump right into it.
Hey, Maria, do they have this for Placer County as well?
Placer County also has something similar. I'll see if I can
Okay.
pull that up as well.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah, of course. So you can search for, we'll use our station as the example. You can search for any address in here and it will pull up the mailing address of the registered owner. You'll see that.
Okay, so we'd have to do that by individual property parcel, right? Parcel number?
Within a community, if you have someone that's a little bit tech savvy, there's a way to create a shape. So I could say, I want information for all of the parcels that I've just captured here.
Mm-hmm.
And it will create a report for me. So there is a way to do
great.
it. Yep, on a larger scale. It doesn't give you the name of the owner. You can get that if you, so there are numerous websites where you can subscribe and get that information. But publicly available, sort of at your fingertips, is this way of doing it. And you can always, send information to property owner at this mailing address.
Okay.
For Placer County,
Yeah.
let's see. Placer Counties is on their GIS page. Let's see, actually, if I have it bookmarked in here. Maybe just parcels and addresses. James, I'll find that one for you. Well, let's see, actually, if I just say Placer County, parcel ownership.
And if you don't have it on hand, I can do some Googling, but thank you.
I know that I've accessed it before, so I'll share it in the follow-up Firewise Focus email that I send after this. It's great information for you guys to know you have access.
Yeah.
You don't have to
Thank
wait
you.
to get it from us. Yeah, of course. Other questions? Go ahead, Julia.
So our one of our local realtors gave us a list of all of our empty parcels. And Michelle, I forwarded it to you. I attached it to an email.
Did
maybe
you?
a week
Okay,
or two.
I have not seen that.
Yeah, I can
Okay.
forward it back. But anyway, the local realtors
Two
are
things I
a
couldn't
huge
open.
resource
Yeah.
for that information. And she just printed a whole spreadsheet with the name, parcel number, and it was kind of cool the way they laid it out, because some property owners here don't live in the neighborhood, and some people own a home plus an empty parcel. And so you can parse out who lives out of the area, who lives locally, and know whether or not we sent them information via their home, and who we need to send who are just out of the area owning a lot. Anyway,
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll
that's a
resend
great
that to
point.
you, Michelle.
Okay, thank you.
That's a great point, Julia. And I definitely recommend to any committees on here that you get a local real estate agent on your committee, because they have access to resources. They know where to find publicly available information on a lot of these things that will help you guys navigate and communicate with your neighbors. So thanks all for bringing that up. Bonnie, I see that you unmuted yourself. Did you want to jump in on anything?
It's all very interesting. I didn't intend to unmute myself, but thank you. It's valuable information.
No worries at all. Thanks for being here, Bonnie. What other questions do you guys have?
Finally.
Pretty much, yeah, you're finally here. I'm going to just start reviewing some of the navigation of everything that I told you guys. Yeah, unless you jump in with other questions. Go ahead, Julie.
Just anyway, a standard kind of question of, when do we submit this action plan? You're muted, Maria.
Great question. The action plans for renewing communities is due at the time of the application renewal, which is, I think it's the third week in November. It's mid-November, and they sort of fluctuate whether it's just before or just after Thanksgiving. They do not want you to fully submit your renewal application early. They will reject it, they told us. They've opened up the portal so that you can edit and make changes and upload your documents, but don't click that final submit button until that window in November, come November. And you don't want to submit until then anyway for the renewals, because Truckee Fire, as you hopefully recall, aggregates the green waste pickup information that we have from our grapple truck service and adds that into the portal for you. So you want to wait until November, when we can put all that information into the system for you. For newly applying communities, the action plan is due in the whole package when you submit. And my recommendation to new communities is that if you want recognition for this, if you want the certificate, if you want to receive that recognition certificate this calendar year, then you should submit in September, early October. Keep in mind that the CAL FIRE staff members that are reviewing these applications wear multiple hats. And as fire season kicks up, they're not going to be sitting in front of their computers available to review documentation. So if you can submit your new application at any time of the year. The turnaround time that we have seen is about 2 weeks when you're submitting it before mid-October. As it gets into October, they're further delayed. And then once renewal season starts and they're inundated with hundreds of renewal applications, chances are low that they're going to get to it before the holidays. Other questions about that? Thanks for bringing that up, Julia.
I was wondering if you could tell me what the final resting place is for these applications, and whether or not policies of Fire Safe Council, NFPA, National Firewise, whoever's looking at them, changes based on our inputs?
Okay, your question about where they live, the documents are submitted to the Firewise portal. Resident leaders have access to their Firewise portal here, and I'll show you yours in particular. When Julia or whomever logs into the Prosser Lakeview and Woods Firewise portal, this is what it looks like. And the people that have access to your community's portal include your resident leaders. And it looks like we have Julia, Michael, and you, Jim, here as community leaders. Your regional coordinators, which include Fire Safe Council of Nevada County, one of the board members of Fire Safe Council of Nevada County, and Truckee Fire, which is us, and a state representative from CAL FIRE. So those are the individuals and the agencies that have access to your portal. The application is a web-based online application, and you submit the documents. So you attach PDFs to the online application, and they all live within the Firewise portal. It's not publicly searchable a document, although many communities do choose to upload their action plan and their risk assessments to their own Firewise page. That's up to you guys. At present, and per my understanding, there is no use or application sort of in terms of the use of the Firewise application and the associated documents besides assessing a community for recognition within the Firewise USA program. And I don't anticipate or imagine that there will be further uses beyond that. If you have more specific questions than what I just spoke to, let me know, Jim. All right, feel free to jump in with other questions, you guys, but I'm going to circle back because I touched on a lot of things and I want to make sure that you guys know where to find all of this. Again,
Hey,
the
Maria,
primary.
would I be
Please.
jumping ahead to talk about like the community like work day kind of thing, or should I hold that until we're done with what you're talking about?
Yeah, let me just rehash where the action plan
Cool.
Resources are available, and then we'll circle back to that. Thanks, James.
Sounds good. Thanks.
So truckeefire.org/firewise/admin is where all of the resources, pretty much all of the resources that we looked at today are housed. And when you scroll down to the bottom of the page, we have a header for action plans. You can access the required template, which is that PDF. Let me see how hard it is for me to pull up this PDF of the current action plan. Make sure that this is what you're using because they won't accept it in a prior year template. Then how to write an action plan is the document that we looked through this guy, which has step-by-step instructions, and it also has the embedded chart here that gives you some ideas for your action plan examples. That's all. These I stole these from another document that is also available on here, and I'll show you in a minute, but I wanted to put them all in one place so you have them at your fingertips. And then example action plans, we have 2 of them available here, and I think they both download automatically when you click in them. Maybe this one opens directly, the other one downloads. But so, as I said before, these are examples of what was accepted last year. This is not what yours has to look like. You're welcome to put it in, phrases or, language or goals that make sense to your community. But these are examples to help you get started and see what other communities have done. All of that is available on our truckeefire.org/firewise/admin. Any other questions about action plans, where to access the resources I've talked about, how to know whether you're due for an action plan update, what sort of content you're putting into it? Any other questions around all that sort of stuff? Go ahead, Julia.
Maria,
Just
this is Bonnie.
Bonnie also was speaking, so we'll let Bonnie go first.
Okay, go ahead, Bonnie. We can hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted, since I have you, take what I just sent you and throw it in the trash can because I will be redoing it according to the new format.
Okay, don't you throw it away because
Never
you
a
put a lot of
boring
effort
moment.
word into it. Yeah, of course. Don't throw it away. Bonnie was ahead of the curve and sent me her drafted action plan. But yeah, Bonnie, go ahead and put your info into the new template. But I'm happy to look it over and give you feedback on what you did submit. We just have to make sure that before you actually upload and submit it, that we get it into the new template. But thanks, Bonnie. Anything else,
Will
Bonnie,
do.
before we move over to Julia?
No, I don't think so. Thank you.
Of course, thanks. All right, go ahead, Julia.
And I forgot. So we'll do, my brain's not working very well today. I can't remember what I was going to ask. It's okay.
No worries. Pipe back in when it comes to you.
Maria, so as Prosser works on our action plan, do you recommend that we run it past you first before we submit?
Yes, definitely. I would definitely recommend that. And Julia and I emailed earlier that I'm going to put together some reporting for you guys on specific findings from the most recent inspections in the neighborhood. So I'll get those to you. That'll help you guys prioritize, and then definitely, you know, workshop it amongst yourselves and loop me in whenever you feel is appropriate. I'm happy to be sort of part of the development process and then do a sort of final screening before you submit it to your application.
And did you receive any direct feedback from the homeowners or property owners that you sent cards to? And is there any way that we can use that information in our action plan, saying that, you know, we want to reach out to those people and increase the numbers gradually or whatever? So does that make sense?
I'm not sure what statistic you're asking for. If we heard back from the people who received mailers.
Yes. So again, you know, one of our problems is, you know, there's some houses that are not lived in very often, and they may not necessarily, you know, follow up with anything that we have given them, mailers or door hangers, and they don't show up at the meetings. And some of them are, you know, quite out of compliance with home hardening and defensible space. So since you guys have also reached out to them in a more formal fashion, is there any way that we can have access to that information, or, you know, reach out to them again as a Firewise committee? So
that's an interesting question. I'll have to look into that further. I think in terms of the data, that's a data point that I might be able to get you like numbers on, in terms of for properties that were sent a mailer, did they subsequently log into their account? Did they complete mitigations?
right.
I don't think I would be able to get you, you know, the specific properties that received mailers.
Okay.
But in terms of some statistics to show whether the mailer was successful, that's something that we might be able to pull. And if you guys actually want to send me an email to firewise@truckeefire.org and sort of outline some of the information that would be helpful to you, that you sort of anticipate would be helpful for setting your goals or planning, that would be really helpful for me, because then I can look at what is actually possible from my administrative side, what is possible for us to ask the software provider to pull out in terms of data, and then it's that crossing the line from aggregated data to individual outcomes per property that I probably wouldn't be able to provide you. But, you know, in terms of the data, it's helpful for me to hear those sorts of things that you guys would be interested to know.
Yeah, thank you. You know, again, I'm thinking, you know, we have a neighbor who lives across the street from us who is rarely there. Their house needed a lot of work, and there's been a crew there doing 2 days worth of work. So something was effective, and I'd like to know what it was.
What was it?
So,
Yeah. Well, shoot me an email and I'll see if that's something that sort of anecdotally I can tell you for that one particular property. But yeah, I don't think I'd be able to give you a list, for example, of the properties that received notice and did or did not work. But as an aggregated number, I would be able to do that. So I'm glad to hear that you guys are seeing work done.
yeah. And again, I guess, you know, and you know, I'm kind of just spitballing here, but you know, one of our goals, you know, could be, and it's up to the committee, obviously, but you know, that, you know, to reach out to 10 properties that look to be non-compliant. And is that a, you know, too specific a goal, or is that an okay kind of thing to have? So
I think that's a great goal. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a wonderful goal. If you guys sort of, you know, based on community feedback, choose which properties you are sending a message to, and, you know, from people respond to different things, right? Some people will respond more to information coming from a government agency. Some people will respond more to something that's literally signed by their neighbor that says, hey, you know, we're concerned about the condition of your property. We would really love for you to do some work on it. And if their mailing address is local, then, you know, maybe the suggestion is that they participate in a community workday, even if they live full-time in a different residence. So I think that that's a great idea, setting a specific number of properties to reach out to engage with that way.
okay, thank you.
Of course. Well, you guys know where to find me with other action plan questions. I'm going to jump over to James, who is starting community in Hopkins Village. James, what are your questions about your community workday?
Yeah, so I was just curious. I mean, it's a small question, but you know, if we land on a date to get this done, how much notification requirements are there to the fire district and all that? Timeline wise, like, do we have to let you know we're doing it this day? Do you need a certain amount of advance notice? That kind of thing. What are your
Great
thoughts on that?
questions. Yeah. So a couple things. One is that you don't have to tell us that you're doing the
Cool.
community
Yeah.
workday event.
Okay.
Yeah, when you guys schedule it is totally up to you. The reasons to tell us when you're scheduling it is if you would like Truckee Fire to be present at it, which we love. It's a great opportunity for us to speak to questions about defensible space, about specific requirements. And
I
we
see that event request form.
Yep, exactly. We ask for a couple of weeks notice so that we can, you know, make sure that there's staff time available. And but we're very lucky to have a large seasonal staff this year, and they're hungry for overtime. So we will likely be able to get somebody there.
Okay.
Yeah, so submit it whenever you guys know. If you have a tentative date that you're expecting, then let us know that as well.
Cool. Yeah, we're just kind of, I would say that it'll likely happen before the end of September, hopefully earlier than the end of September, but that's kind of the current range, and we'll land it soon. My last question was with the large roll-offs that are reimbursed through Measure T on the community event day, like, is there work ahead of time we need to do for securing that? Is there a preferred, like, reservation route that you recommend to get that to qualify for this?
Yeah, another great question. So you're asking about the 20 to 30 yard dumpsters.
Yeah.
And the way that that works, I'll show you through the Firewise page, through the Firewise admin page on the left-hand side.
Okay.
We've put in links to a lot of these things you guys are regularly accessing. From the green waste page, if you scroll down to Firewise green waste dumpster reimbursement, it's a reimbursement program. So you
Yeah.
guys need to contact TTSD, schedule and pay for the 20 to 30 yard dumpster,
Okay.
and then submit the receipt to us.
Okay.
And I understand, especially for the newer communities, there's always a little hesitancy to put your credit card down for a big bill and then, be told you're going to get reimbursed for it.
Yeah.
So feel free to let us know if you have questions.
Okay.
But generally, the reimbursement, I don't think that we've ever had a conflict of reimbursing. And the main challenge that could present itself is if it's sitting there for too long and sort of unattended, then people
Right.
might put trash besides
Yeah.
green waste into it.
Yeah.
And then sometimes people, have questions about where to actually place it. But my suggestion for figuring that out is to, talk to TTSD or talk to other Firewise leaders and see how they've had success with that.
Cool. Thanks. And then, do you know about what those things cost? Like how much those typically run?
Julia, you know what the cost is? I see you cringing there.
It's pretty expensive. I don't know. Jim might be better. He was one of the people that reimbursed in our community, and I think it was maybe $800 per.
Okay.
That sounds
But
about
let
right.
Jim will give a specific.
900. Okay. Cool. And then see, I have one final question. We'd likely just do that in one of our residents. It'll probably be me if we do it. Do HOAs ever have you ever done it where like an HOA has purchased it and you've reimbursed the HOA?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. So that's an option too. Okay.
Yes, if the
Cool.
HOA has a means to reserve it, it doesn't have to be in like an individual name. I
Okay.
think that TTS, to be honest, I'm not certain how the reservation process works, but if you
Okay.
have challenges with the way that you'd like to do it, let me know and I'll find
Cool.
a community that has experience with it.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Marie.
Yeah, of course.
Those are all my questions. Thank you.
Awesome. Glad we were able to run through them. We have about 10 minutes left. I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have, or if you guys have questions for each other as well, get some sort of forum style conversation going. Let me know what you are interested in talking about, what other questions you guys have.
I could speak to I'm grateful for the Mother Tea program that I have. He rented 2 6-yard dumpsters and filled them with pine needles, and just my they came very and very appreciative of it. Now I need a third one, which I'll have to pay for. It's $280 some odd dollars. Just have pine needles.
Yeah,
it works
thanks,
out
Bonnie.
well.
Great. Bonnie, your service is cutting in and out a little bit, but what Bonnie is saying is that she took advantage of not the Firewise community dumpster, but the individual 6-yard green waste dumpsters. And just as a recap, in the past, Truckee Fire was reimbursing a flat dollar amount, but because there's disparity between the jurisdiction that our community members live in, TTSD has different service agreements with the town of Truckee, with unincorporated Nevada County, and with unincorporated Placer County. So depending where you live, the rental cost for that 6-yard dumpster is different. So this year, we, in an attempt to better support our unincorporated Nevada and Placer County residents, we changed from a flat rate to a 75% reimbursement rate and increased the number of dumpsters available to those unincorporated community members to 2. So you can be reimbursed for 2 for 75% of the cost of 2 green waste dumpsters. Within the town of Truckee, we have access to this wonderful green yard bin. Let's see if we have a picture of them here. We don't have a picture here, but You guys, are familiar with those carts that you put your recycling in. Same thing, but it's for green waste. The town of Truckee has a wonderful service agreement that lets us dispose of pine needles in those. The unincorporated Placer and Nevada County community members don't have that same benefit right now. But actually, on that note, while I have you, I will mention that Placer County is doing a survey right now, and there will be a link to the survey in the email I send out hopefully tomorrow with my Firewise Focus newsletter that has a link to the survey asking about use and interest in support for green waste disposal options. So James, this is mostly for your community as you're representing Placer County, unincorporated Placer County, but please take a look at that and circulate it as, to your friends and neighbors that are in unincorporated Placer County to give feedback. One of the most common frustrations that we hear in regard to our green waste program is actually not about our own program, but about the absence of subsidies for unincorporated Placer County residents that don't have those curbside bins. So thanks for bringing that up. And, we try and support all of our community members equally. Some of it is sort of outside of our control, but there's a great opportunity for residents' voices to be heard. Other questions, comments, things you guys would like to share, ask about, or have me show you how to navigate to, anything like that?
Maria, are many people taking advantage of the home hardening rebates that you guys have offered?
A great question. We, again, about the home hardening rebate, we increased the rebate from $500 to $2,000, which is incredible as far as I'm concerned. You can pretty much get all of your money back that you're going to be paying into Measure T with one rebate application. And we still haven't seen people taking advantage of it as much as we would like. I think we've processed under 20 rebate application checks. We've had more people submit applications, but they're either for things that were not eligible, or we're still working through them. But we are working with our software developer to sort of figure out how to improve some communications and messaging around the program so that we can increase usage of it. But that's a great question. Has anyone on the call taken advantage of the home hardening rebate yet?
We did, and
Great.
and there were a few glitches with uploading photos and then some of the documentation necessary from the contractor. But otherwise, thank you very much. No.
Yeah, of course. It's not, it's not the super simplest process, but for getting money back, as far getting money back from a government agency, as far as I'm concerned, it's not that bad. Julia, you took advantage of the rebate as well?
When it was $500, and what I may not have read the fine print, but I didn't realize it was a matching. And I don't know if that could be clearer, if that's still true. So thankfully I had submitted like a $900. I could have submitted $1,000 to get the full 500, but I was like, it just happened to be on the receipt. So I got $4 something back at the time. Anyway.
Got it.
And the other thing is that I think this is true. If I got the 500, then I'm only eligible for another 1,500, correct?
Correct. Since it's been increased, you're eligible to get the sort of residual amount over what you were reimbursed for previously. It does need to be a new project, but there's always more work to be done. That's for sure. I personally upgraded my vents this year and still haven't submitted my receipts. So, you know, I fall into that category of people that have the best of intentions and still haven't gotten around to it yet.
And how long do you anticipate that program lasting?
The funds are available until they run out. I don't anticipate that we're going to run out of funds this year, given the pace that we're going. And the bucket of funding resets every fiscal year, I believe. But as far as I'm aware, we intend to continue it for the life of the Measure T program.
Okay.
And then we'll see what happens after that. Other
Thank you.
questions? Yeah, of course. You guys have any other questions? You got me for 2 minutes.
I just want to say thank you. It's been really helpful. Appreciate it, Maria.
Second.
Good.
Yeah,
I'm so glad.
you.
I'm so glad. I appreciate you guys sort of going on this journey with us. We started the Firewise office hours this year. It's been sort of slapped together and pretty informal, but it works. I like being able to put faces with names and chat with you guys. And I think we're getting great communication between our community leaders and between Truckee Fire and the communities as well. So I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Any
Maria.
last? Of course. I'm going to put up my last
Thanks again, Maria.
slide here of, I love this picture of Eric and Dylan giving their thumbs up.
I'm sure they love it too.
They love it. So thank you guys for all that
Okay,
you
thank
do
you too.
for our Firewise communities. And you guys know how to find me, Firewise at truckeefire.org.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Hey Maria, before you go, how's that project going
Thanks,
off
everyone. Bye-bye.
Glenshire? Have you heard how it's going? It's started, right?
We just started on Monday. Yeah, there's
Cool.
a ton of equipment out there.
Yeah.
It's looking cool.
Cool.
Dylan did a lot of work in outreach. We had our
Yeah.
seasonals out there walking the paths,
Nice.
actually, since we have so many walking, community members walking their dogs, riding their bikes out there. So so far it's going great.
Awesome. Well, that's super exciting. What a cool big project. So nice.
Yeah.
I'll go check it out sometime soon.
Awesome.
All right. Bye.
All right. Thanks guys so much. Tom, Jim, Bonnie, you guys have any other questions for me? All right. Thanks guys.